Balanced Nutrition to Go, a sports dietitian, and we have a wonderful guest here, Rita Heikenfeld.
Yes, I am your guest, and you are
And
mine and
my
my
guest,
home.
your guest,
That's
yes.
okay. We go back a long way, so
We
that's
do,
why I can
so
talk
she's
like
really
this.
not a guest.
Yes,
actually.
that's all right. And I'm a certified herbalist and culinary professional, and I love good knives, just like I love good cookware. And today we're going to talk about the essential knives you need for that apartment or setting up your dorm room 101.
101, yeah.
So-
And knives are really important because you have to cut tons of things. And so, what kind of knives do we need, Rita? What sizes? What shapes?
Okay.
And there's tons of knives, but you're going to point out what's essential and then where to go from there.
Yes, let's start with the essential knives.
Okay.
You need 3 knives.
3 knives.
3 knives. You're
Okay.
going to need what is called a chef's knife, and this is a long knife, and there's 2 kinds.
Okay.
This is called a santoku, and I hope the light doesn't mess it up too much. A santoku knife is a Japanese style, and if you look at the spine, it goes all the way down to the tip, and it's
Okay.
got a straighter edge. And if you find a knife with these like little channels, those are called grantons. What that does is it's supposed to keep the food from sticking to the knife. Now, I would not, Dawn, buy a knife just for that. So whether you buy on a cook's knife or a chef's knife, whether you buy a stamp knife or a forge like this, look for something called a full tang, and that means the metal starts at the tip and goes all the way back through the back of the handle. And even if the handle is not exposed like this, ask, because that gives you good balance. And a good chef's knife, when you hold it, should fall forward in your hand. That way you don't get carpal tunnel when you chop.
Interesting. So what's about the rounded tip? You were saying
the
we have
spine.
the spine. Okay.
Look at the difference between these 2 knives, and I'm going to
Got it.
chop some basil in a minute.
Okay.
This, a traditional chef's knife, is more curved. So, and we'll just show you that right now.
I see. So
Yeah. So, when you cut, you can just sort of rock and roll. Your tip always stays on the bottom. Rock and roll, rock and roll.
Okay.
Like that. Now, a santoku style is flatter, but it's wider and more flexible. So, if you see, you have to do a little bit flatter chopping, but this is great because it gives you a lot of control, and you can also use it as a scoop. So, this also slices meats and such.
now, do you prefer one or the other?
You
or
know, I like
you
this
them both?
style only because it's a little shorter and my hand is smaller.
So if you have small hands, things
Yeah.
like that one too.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what you need to do when you go purchase your knives, very important, pick them up and see which feels best in your hand. And which feels best in your hand is the line you should go with.
Okay.
And by the way, Eversharp never needs sharpening. Those to me are not, those are almost knives that you're going to have to replace because they can't be sharpened for the most part. Once in a while they can be.
Okay.
And I like what you said your family does with knives.
Yeah, well, my mom started it, well, she got it from her sister, but one of the traditions that we do for knives is, because knives can be really expensive. So what she had done when we were started in college is each year we got a knife as a gift and added it to our collection. So started off with one of the essential knives, and then each year we added a new knife. So if you get 4 or 5 years of schooling, next thing you know, you got all your knives.
That's perfect.
So
yes, good cutlery is really, really important. As far as what brand, you usually get what you pay for. Stamp versus forge, that's your personal choice. That full tang, what I mentioned, is one of the most important. Metal starts here, goes all the way through the back of the handle. So that's your chef's knife.
Okay.
Now the next knife that is key is a bread knife. And will always have a serrated edge, and it can be sharpened on one edge only, but normally this never needs sharpening.
Really?
Because you
Okay.
don't use it for hard fruits, soft
You're right.
fruits. And when you use a bread knife, instead of going like this, if you start at the back and you just pull it through like that, see how clean it cuts?
Oh my gosh, okay.
So, a good bread knife.
I didn't even think about that. So
Yeah.
now I learned how to cut bread the proper way. I've been doing it wrong all these years, Rita.
Well,
That's
that's the only thing you do wrong. It's good because
In
you
this
know
world,
now she's normal. That's
I
a
am
good
normal.
thing. Okay.
Oh, gosh.
And a paring knife. Now, paring knives can come in many
Okay.
shapes and sizes. This little paring knife looks like a miniature chef's knife, straighter. This, and actually this is what my mom used to use, it looks like a fillet knife if you look at the shape of it. And it's good because it curves And if you're peeling veggies, see how it curves around?
Yeah.
It's good for that.
Okay.
Whatever you like is just, you know, that's a personal choice.
Okay.
So, whatever you like. So, the 3 essential knives are, and then we'll talk about some fun ones, a chef's knife or cook's knife,
Okay, chef or cook's knife.
serrated bread knife,
Okay.
and paring knife.
Paring
Those are
knife.
the 3 essentials. If
Okay.
that's all you got room for, that's it.
That's what you go for.
Now, some fun knives. What I
Now,
really
can you
like.
show us like? Oh, you're going to show.
Yeah,
me.
you want
Okay.
to show? That's all right. We're going to
knife.
show how to sharpen also, because I think that's important.
Yeah, we'll do that at the end. Okay.
All righty.
So some fun knives if you have some opportunity to get a couple extra.
I love this. This is
Okay.
called a tomato knife, a utility knife. It's beveled, and
On
and
one
that's
side.
right, and it's serrated. But the bevels, these channels, it makes a very smooth cut. And again, it's got like that little point for taking the eyes out of potatoes.
Mhm.
But what I love about it, it not only cuts like soft fruits or
Wow.
hard fruits. It's great for sandwiches, and it's little. It's really nice.
Yeah.
I call it a tomato knife. It'll be called a utility knife. Just look something with a beveled
And you do the
edge.
same cutting technique.
Yeah. See, whenever I use a serrated knife, you start at the heel and work your way up.
Got it.
Okay. And some fun knives. This is a slicer. Is that really important? And it's more flexible than a chef's knife. Like if you're doing like roast beef or ham, it just gives you less area on top. Like if you were slicing ham with this, gosh, you have to go through so much metal. Where this is thinner, so you just slice it. Not essential, but nice to have. So those are just fun. And some people like chef's knives. Steak knives. That's all right. That would be an addition, but I wouldn't necessarily say that's essential. So
Okay.
those are it. And as far as keeping your knife sharp,
Yeah. Now, how often do you do this?
all right. When you buy a set of knives,
Stand back, everybody. I'm
Yes.
gonna get out of her way. So.
stand back. When you buy a set of knives, they will be sharp, razor
Okay.
sharp. Every time you use them, it's going to wear down the edge a teeny tiny bit. It's going to, lessen the sharpness. So every other time you use your knives, or every third or fourth time, this is called a knife steel or a honer. And most of them do not sharpen a dull knife. That's where people think that they do. But they will keep a sharp knife, razor sharp. Now, Ashley, our videographer, said, I guess I'm allowed to tell this about her grandma. Her grandma must be some good knife sharpener, because she said everybody stays out of her way. She just flails that knife, probably does it like the butchers do, like this.
Uh-huh.
But what you want to do is, what I do is I just put it right on my
On
the cutting board. And I pretend like I'm slicing deli meat, like 10 to 20 degree angle, and you just give it a few swipes, starting at the heel and going to the tip, like this. 3,
Okay.
4. And then you do it with the other side too.
And that's all you have to do if
And
they're sharp?
what that does is, if you looked under the microscope, what that does is really just realign the edge. And that keeps it razor sharp.
So that's why you want to do it almost every 3 to 4 times.
Yeah.
You
If
have to
think
keep
about
it sharp, but if it's dull,
then you need to have it sharpened professionally.
Got it.
And then you can keep it sharp.
Okay.
And then even this, to see how nice this cuts. And because a dull knife is just miserable to work with.
Yeah.
And it's more dangerous than...
And it breaks down the fruit or the produce,
does.
it bruises it.
Exactly. So you lose some nutrients. As far as how to store your knives, you can use a block, or I would never just store them in an open drawer. It's dangerous because you pull it out and you could get a cut. When you wash your knives, I always hand wash them. Don't put them in the dishwasher, because you should, if people put them in the dishwasher, they're going to put them like this or like this, the cut side down. It's going to hurt the edge of the knife, plus cut through your dishwasher, the rubber. And if you put them up like this, that's very dangerous. So wash them, and wash them individually. Don't leave them in a sink full of water, because you're going to reach in there like I have done in a soapy sink.
And then slip
Ow.
in. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's your knife primer, Knife 101.
Knife 101. Now, we do have a couple of other things to go. So we have the Knife 101, the knives and the sharpening, and we have a couple of other things we want to cover in this segment. So share with us about the colanders and the bowls that we
Okay.
made.
Colanders. I think that's an essential, don't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. With pasta,
Absolutely.
draining, whatever you're doing with.
Yeah. Washing veggies.
Uh-huh.
Different sizes. These are enamel coated. They're very pretty. Think of your space and your needs. This is a standard size. I think this is a 5-quart, and this is a little mini. but it's cute and it works fine. So
Okay.
they're good.
Very
They're good.
simple things,
Yeah.
easy to add,
And they're
different
fun.
sizes. Okay.
And then the mixing bowls, I always say go for nested, whether you go for ceramic, plastic, whatever.
It does not matter.
No, because they're easy to store.
Okay.
You know, they take up less space. And if you can find some with lids, that's a bonus because then you can take them, like tote them places. So, nested mixing bowls, whatever your budget allows. That's something that I wouldn't spend a huge amount of money on.
Okay.
Okay?
It's more for just mixing things.
Yeah.
Then we
And
have
then
our
the
nice
blender.
blender.
Okay. And we're going to talk a little bit about food processors as well.
Right. Because we have a food processor, but it's very large. So
Yeah.
we have a blender, and then we'll talk about a food processor.
Okay, blender, I mean, you use for smoothies. You can make dressings in it. It's just very essential. And it makes life a lot easier for busy people, especially somebody like you who does, as
Yeah, I
said.
made my shake this morning.
Yeah,
so.
right in the blender. Now there's a blender food processor combo that you can buy.
Which is really nice.
Yeah, and this is by Cuisinart. This is a nice one. Again, ask lots of questions. Think what's going to fit on your counter. And the food processor blender combo, if I have the food processor, it's a little 3/4, sits right on the base.
Okay.
Less space, great.
Okay.
And the food processor we usually use for solid foods and the blender for liquid.
And also a food processor, it helps like if you're trying to grade stuff, it has
Right.
little different cutting things. So if you want to grade cheese,
Mhm.
if you want to cut foods fast and consistent, and you're going, wow, this is a lot to cut.
Yes.
That's what the food
And
processor
it saves a lot of time too.
Got
So,
it.
there you
Okay.
go.
So just to finish up, we got our knives, we got our bowls, we got our colanders here, and we got our nice blender, and also a food processor. You can get them together or you can get them separate. So again, thanks for your time. Have a great and healthy day.